Hi, I'm Reagan. I'm an advanced certified QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor. I've been doing bookkeeping and public accounting for 10 years now, and I'm here to talk to you about why it's really important for you to get your income categories for your business nailed down. And we're going to go over why you need to do this, how to do this in your own business. I want to let you know that I walk you through this process step by step because this is just the first part of setting up a bookkeeping system for your business inside the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit. The Bookkeeping Foundation Kit is my answer to people's questions about the basics of bookkeeping, setting it up correctly, making sure that you're doing the bookkeeping correctly, how to know when things are wrong and how to fix them. I created the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit as a quick digital course to simplify that process for you. And you can go to bookkeepingfoundationkit.com. It's $77, and you'll also get 30 days free access to my private virtual community for me and all of my clients. The Bookkeeping Foundation Kit also has my best tips for troubleshooting your reconciliation, because that is something that people get stuck on like immediately when they start doing bookkeeping. And that is why I dedicated pretty much an entire part of the kit to helping you reconcile your bookkeeping. You can get access to the community where I am hosting virtual office hours. I provide a virtual content lesson once a month for my clients and for anybody who is a part of the community. I also do a live Q&A every month, but I host 2 hours of virtual office time over on Zoom. And that is for you to use as you need. You can get support, we can troubleshoot, we can brainstorm, you can body double with me if you're neurodivergent, ADHD folks. It can be helpful to know that you're on camera and that somebody else is perceiving you if you want to work quietly and stay focused. So when you purchase the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit for $77, that gets you 30 days free access to the private community. You can also get access to the community for just $7 a month. There is no obligation, and you can cancel that at any time. But when we're setting up a bookkeeping system, or especially how I do it whenever I have a new client that comes to me who either does not have any bookkeeping to speak of, or they have a bookkeeping system, but it is way off from being accurate, from being complete, and from being informative or helpful to them at all. It might be scattered, there might be missing information in there, they've never reconciled, it doesn't matter. I start a bookkeeping project with a new client, with a client that is brand new in business, with a client that has an established business that they don't have books for. I start every project the same way. And one of the first things that I talk to my client about that we work on together is getting their income categories really dialed in. Now, if you have taken my courses or you've watched some of my videos, you know that the chart of accounts I consider the hub of the business's bookkeeping. This is where all of the categories and accounts live. It is literally a list of every category, every account that you are going to use when you do your bookkeeping. And one of the most important things is making sure that your income is correct. Why? Because when you go to file your tax return, if you're self-employed, you're a single member LLC, you're a sole proprietor, your business's bookkeeping pretty much goes on your individual tax return. That is the income that you claim as a self-employed person. Your income needs to be as accurate as possible. But beyond just filing your taxes, it's useful to be able to look at your income on your profit and loss statement and see how you're making money. It is really useful for planning, and I would argue indispensable to business planning, business growth, and strategy, is having your income categories really broken down into a detailed format. We want separate categories for different things. You might want to have subcategories. The more detail we can put on there, the better. And at the same time, too much detail is not a good thing on the P&L. We want to kind of see a summary of how things are going in your business, not every single transaction on there. So the reason that we focus on your income categories first is because we want to know how you're making money, especially me as the bookkeeper. I need to know, how do you make money in your business? What do people pay you for? Do you sell them products? Do you provide services to people for a certain fee? Your income categories inform me as your bookkeeper, how your business operates, how you make money. And we want to identify the various income streams and sources that your business has. Some businesses are solely service-based, like myself. I pretty much only provide services. Well, up until a point where I started providing digital courses for sale. Even though that's a digital product, it's not something tangible that somebody can have. It's still something that I'm selling that is not a direct service that I'm providing to them. They're just paying for a service that I've already done, right? Because I filmed and created the course content ahead of time. So I provide bookkeeping and accounting services. I also have digital products for sale. There are businesses that only sell products, such as a restaurant or a retail store. It can be an e-commerce store. E-commerce has blown up in a huge way just over the past couple of years. Obviously, since the pandemic started, a lot of things shifted to needing to be sold or provided virtually or digitally. So e-commerce, I have seen it grown so much over the past couple of years. And identifying your various income streams and sources is how we start creating your bookkeeping system. You may also be interested in creating passive income, or you might be somebody that wants to streamline an income source. If you are a service provider, is there a way that you can shift from one-on-one services to a one-to-many service style business, which would be like mentorship or group coaching or something like that, where you do the service, but you're serving many people at the same time? This is the way that we can streamline your income sources. We can grow your income sources without you necessarily doing more or less work. And it's probably the case that everybody out here wants to have some sort of passive income, right? We would all love to make money in our sleep, and some of us do, but it does take work to get there. But identifying what kind of income streams you already have in your business and what income streams you want to have in your business is very important. So let's go ahead and set up those income categories. Another reason to focus on your income categories first is because if you want to be able to identify your profit margins, to be able to calculate those really easily, you got to have income categories that reflect your cost of goods for those products and services. And cost of goods is the direct cost that is associated with you selling a product or providing a service. So if you are a restaurant and you sell food that is made and prepared in your restaurant, your cost of goods would be the grocery deliveries that you get or the groceries that you have to go run to the store to pick up because you're out of something. That is your cost of goods sold. And your income categories really need to quite literally reflect your cost of goods and vice versa. We want to see your profit margins for the different types of income streams that you have. If you have an income stream that has a specific cost of goods associated with it, we want to see that cost of goods broken down into that category and that income stream in its own category. Because when we have that detail, we've got our income category and then we've got the cost of goods, it will be very easy to calculate that profit margin. The profit margin is what percentage is left over after you have bought the cost of goods and then sold the product. What profit is left over? Hopefully there is profit left over. If you have a negative profit margin, that's not a good thing, right? So these are the reasons that we focus on your income categories first. All of those reasons, we need to know how you're making money. We need to know how you want to make money. Identify your income streams and sources. If you're interested in creating passive income or growing a certain income stream without necessarily doing more work, and then being able to identify your profit margins easily. Let's talk about how we identify these different income streams and what goes into creating income categories and possibly even subcategories on your chart of accounts. The first question that I ask somebody when I'm sitting down with them and talking to them about their bookkeeping and we're discussing a bookkeeping project is, how do you make money? What are your various products and services, or both, that you offer to your clients and customers? What do you sell, right? You are having a transaction with a client or a customer. They are paying you in exchange for something. So what are you giving to somebody else to exchange for money? So once we can identify what your products, what your offers, what your services are, the thing that you want to remember is that we don't want a different income category for each product. That's kind of ridiculous. For instance, if you had an online store where you sold clothing, but you also sold home goods like candles or like dinnerware or something, or maybe office supplies for like home-based offices. And you want to see not each different shirt and pants, category on your P&L. We would want to see the clothing category aside from the home goods. That way you can identify how you're making your money. Like, where are you making the most money? Is it in the sale of clothes? Is that only because clothes are generally priced higher than home goods are? So identifying what offers or products you have for sale is a good place to start with your income categories, but we don't want every single product to have its own income category necessarily. The next thing that we look at is to see if you have any standalone offers, if you have subscription-based offers, or are there products or services that are time limited. So the thing to remember with some businesses is that there is a seasonality to things, right? As an accountant, I don't do tax returns, but when I did tax returns, obviously during tax season is when tax return filing fees went up. It was like March, April, probably May, because some people were probably paying their invoice a little bit late. And so those couple of months during the year, when there's a higher volume of tax preparation fees, is when we would see that seasonality for that offer. But bookkeeping is something that gets done every single month. And if you have a client like I do that pays you every single month for their bookkeeping, that's not seasonal. However, I do offer to some of my clients to pay their bookkeeping fees in advance. I give them a little bonus. If they want to pay me 6 months at a time, they get 2 free consultations with me per year. That is one-on-one private Zoom consultations to do strategy planning, goal setting, review of their bookkeeping, etc. That is not necessarily seasonal because I'm doing the bookkeeping all year long, but how they pay me is seasonal. I only get paid by them twice a year, so there might be a month where I have a couple of clients paying their 6-month fees, and then the following month, the income drops way down, right? The revenue goes down. So a popular type of business that I see in terms of seasonality is lawn and landscaping services. Obviously, depending on where you live, most people do not need to mow their lawns as frequently during the winter months. But if you lived somewhere where it does snow in the wintertime, you might have a lawn and landscaping client who cuts lawns in the spring and summer, and then in the fall and winter, they might offer snow shoveling and, ice salting people's sidewalks and steps to prevent ice from forming. So they might be seasonal, but there might still be a consistent revenue throughout the year. Where I live in Louisiana, we cut our grass for most of the year, but during the winter, it does not grow that fast. And so I know for sure that lawn and landscaping companies where I live experience a little bit of that feast famine thing from the summer to the winter months. And a lot of them will offer like subscription-based services so that they get a more consistent revenue on a monthly basis, even if they're not cutting grass every single month of the year. They might also offer landscaping services or tree removal, which probably needs to happen all year long for some people. So there is a seasonality to some types of businesses. And when I'm sitting down and consulting with somebody, I will ask them about that. Like, do you know whether you have certain periods during the year, certain months where you are like making it rain. And then, like I mentioned, the subscription thing. Some of your offers may be better suited to be on a subscription basis. It may be the case that you can sell a product or a service in a kind of standalone or one-off transaction. But so many companies, corporate, all the way down to self-employed people, are creating subscription-based offers nowadays because, like I said, we all got to have some consistent revenue coming in, right? Not too many people have like a savings account banked up. I know for sure that I don't. And I'm trying to create more consistent revenue in my business. And it is not the case that it's consistent at this point, but I'm a little over 2 years in to running my business. So I expect that it's going to be inconsistent at the beginning of any business. But if you have something that you can provide on a subscription basis, and then you really put, your whole Bookkeeping into that product or into that offer, and you sell some subscriptions and you add value to it to the point where somebody can see themselves paying on a regular basis, or there might be some savings associated with being a subscription-based service or offer, that is a way to make your income, your revenue on a month-to-month basis more consistent. If you have a set of books where you sell one-off or standalone offers, but then you also have a subscription-based offer, I would actually want to see those income categories separately. I would want to see what are the just one-off sales that we've had versus the people that are on a subscription payment plan or pay consistently. Or maybe they pay on a payment plan for a limited amount of time. Maybe it's a 6-month payment plan. And I would want to see that in a separate category. And then we've got e-commerce versus in-person and businesses that do both. Because there are businesses, and one of the examples I like to give is restaurants that have a regional kind of following, right? Or a restaurant that sells merchandise to, promote their products, basically, and advertise their business on a much larger scale to get more reach if you're wearing their t-shirt halfway across the country. A restaurant might sell merch online just to increase their sales. I know especially during lockdown period during COVID, a lot of restaurants were like, hey, purchase a gift card and you'll get 5-10% off of the value of the gift card when you buy it, just so that they can have a little bit of revenue while they literally weren't allowed to be open and selling. Some of them did merchandise sales online so that they could keep up their revenue a little bit, even if they couldn't be open and selling food. So we saw a lot of that during the pandemic, and that is why I think we had such a big boom in e-commerce. Plus, everybody's doing a side hustle now. People are making jewelry or making crochet things and selling them on Etsy. E-commerce is huge, and there's so many different platforms that you can host your e-commerce on, that you can sell products on a platform and pay nominal fees, rather than having to build your own website and then keep track of that inventory and set up that entire system for yourself. We've got Shopify, we've got WordPress and Wix and all of that. Squarespace, where the platform is already built and set up for you. All you need to do is add your products and start selling. E-commerce is huge. And if I have a business client that has, in-person or face-to-face or brick and mortar sales, as well as e-commerce sales, I want to see those income categories separate on the P&L. I want to see their e-commerce sales, especially so that they have that information available to them. They get to see how much of our revenue is coming in from our online sales versus however many people come into the restaurant during the week, et cetera, et cetera. Looking at your different products, looking at whether somebody's paying one-off or standalone for an offer, or they're paying on a subscription basis. And then, are you selling things online or digitally and in person? I would want to see all of that kind of separated out on the P&L. But what I tell folks is that I don't like for you to have more than 3 income categories on your P&L. And even then, limit to maybe like 2 subcategories to each of those income categories. Now, subcategories, like I said, not every product needs to have its own category or subcategory on your P&L. If you have brick and mortar or in-person retail sales as a category versus e-commerce sales, let's take the clothing store example again, clothing and home goods. If you had retail sales for people that are coming into the brick and mortar shop and buying products versus e-commerce sales, because you also list your products on an e-commerce site, you'd want to see each of those in its own category, but maybe the business owner wants to see that further broken down. Maybe they want to see my in-person retail sales, and I want to see clothing versus the home goods that I sell in the shop. And then on the e-commerce side, the same thing. I want to see clothing and the home goods sales separated out. So in that case, I would have the main categories as retail sales, e-commerce sales, and then under each of those would be a subcategory for clothes and home goods. And that is how I would set up those income categories, because that gives my client a lot of detail without breaking down every single product that got sold. And it informs them, maybe they have been putting a lot of ad funds into running ads on their e-commerce stuff. Maybe they've really been pushing e-commerce, or conversely, they've been running ads in the local magazines and newspapers to try to get people to come in. Maybe they had a doorbuster sale at the actual brick and mortar store. And so they would want to see that breakdown, as well as in both places, what are we selling the most? Is it the clothing? Is it the home goods? Is it another kind of product category? Seeing that detail is especially helpful to a business owner who does want to up their ad budget or strike the ad budget and say, like, we spent a lot of money on advertising for barely a blip in our sales online in e-commerce. So that information can be especially useful to them, which is why I think breaking it out into those categories and subcategories is so important. So while not every product needs its own category or subcategory, I still think that you should group like with like. So clothing, home goods, retail sales, e-commerce sales. For a restaurant, if you have the actual food that people buy, you might split out the retail sales of the food from people coming in and eating at the restaurant versus to-go sales. Or if many restaurants are using third-party app delivery services now, and I for sure split that out on a restaurant's P&L when I see it. I want you to see how much you're making from third-party delivery app sales. How much revenue are you making from that? Is it worth it to not only pay the fees associated with having DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats deliver your food to your customers, plus maybe you're actually consenting and opting in for those third-party apps to promote your food and sponsor posts so that people see your restaurant more often on the app. Is it even worth it to pay into that? Is it worth it to have those delivery services? A lot of restaurants don't like using that because they kind of charge exorbitant fees sometimes. Having that data at your fingertips means that you get to make those decisions about what you're actually paying. If you don't have access to that data, or it's scattered and you have to look in 5 different places to get it rather than in one report on your P&L, you're less likely to make an informed choice about it. So that's why we break these out into those income categories, and we group like with like. If you know which income streams you want to see on your P&L, go ahead and set up those income categories the way you want to see them. Don't make it too complicated. Keep it simple. 2 to 3 main categories max, and 2 subcategories for each of those max. That is the limit that I want you to set for yourself, and, really try to keep it within those limits. If you have a bookkeeping or self-employment or even tax topic that you want me to talk about on a future video, leave a comment below, because I do take your feedback very seriously. If you seriously have something that you have questions about, or you want to see me do a video about or break down, let me know. I take feedback from my community. I take into consideration what my clients are asking about on a consistent basis, and I make content about it, because if one person has a question about it, probably there's 10, 20 more people who have the same exact question. So if you've got something specific that you want me to talk about, leave it in a comment below and I will consider that topic for a future video. But if you want dedicated support from me and you want to be a network and community with my other clients who are doing their bookkeeping too, get inside the community. The way you do that is purchase the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit at bookkeepingfoundationkit.com. It's $77 and it walks you through setting up a simple bookkeeping system, how to do it correctly, how to do it consistently. And when you purchase the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit, you'll also get 30 days free access to my private virtual community. You can also just join the community for $7 a month. But I recommend getting the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit because that is where most of your questions are going to get answered first. I put 10 years of doing bookkeeping for small businesses in the United States into the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit. Those are the most frequently asked questions that are addressed inside the kit. And my best troubleshooting tips, especially when you get to the point where you're reconciling your accounts and you get stuck. So get the Bookkeeping Foundation Kit from the link in the description below, and you'll get 30 days free access to that community where I'm hosting virtual office hours. I do more dedicated tutorials for my clients, and I also host live Q&A sessions. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you've got questions, comments, or suggestions for a future video, leave a comment below and let me know. Like this video if you liked this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video from me again. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing week.